Hello, everyone. Andrew Taylor here. We have Zach T with us again. So, Zach, New Year's is coming up. What's your New Year's resolution?
I don't do New Year's resolutions.
You don't?
No. I don't know. I changed some stuff during the year. I want to keep doing all the stuff I've been doing, but I don't like to make them at New Year's. I feel like it's hard to stick if you just do it when everyone else is doing it, you know? Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
No, but I do think about things I can do better.
Yeah. I like what you said. You're like, I start them in December so
Yeah.
that I'm already used to it by the time January comes.
Yeah. I don't like let's go crazy and then have no momentum for anything by January 1.
I like to set new goals for the year in January. So does that count as a resolution?
Yeah, I would say so.
Cool. I have some good goals for the
So
year.
one thing funny we can share with everybody is you did the 75 hard challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you never stopped.
Yeah.
So like you just said that this is permanently the way you are every day.
Yeah.
Tell everybody about that.
Yeah. Well, I was like 75 hard is really not that hard. You might as well just do it forever. And I feel way better. But I don't think that people should be getting paid that much for telling people to do that for 75 days. You should just always live like that. I have tons of energy. Haven't drank in like a year. I feel great.
And how much weight did you lose?
Like 35 pounds.
And you're just like shredded now pretty much.
Yeah, and this is where I actually probably should have been, but it got me into a good habit, right? And then I just kept doing the same thing. It's like same things as like once I got in the habit of running 30 appointments a week, I never missed it, right?
Yeah.
I was in the habit of it's working out twice a day for 45 minutes. Like if you wake up at 4 a.m, that's easy.
Yeah.
And eating healthy and not
So
drinking.
what time are you done working out?
If I go at 4, I'm usually done by like 5:15, 5:30.
And that's both workouts?
No, I do one in the morning and then I'll like take my dogs on a hike or a walk at nighttime or something like that. Like a 30, 45 minute
Every
walk.
single day.
Every day.
You drink a gallon of water?
I don't have like, you have a gallon of water right there. I don't have one of those. I just drink as much water as I can.
How much do you think it is?
I don't know. I drink like a ton of these things a day, probably like 8 or 10 of those a day, I bet.
That's legit. All right. So topic today is final expense mail leads, new and aged, what to expect when it comes to booking them and how to work them. I'm going to pass it to you since you're an expert in this area.
Yeah. So I think final expense mailers were the first mailers I started working for the new ones. So let's start with the brand new ones. So the reason I like them is because you can set exactly how many you're going to get a month, which is really nice. I think it's a really good way for new agents to get acclimated to having some sort of buy per lead order coming in, because it can be a little bit scary the first time. I remember when I first locked out mortgage leads, I locked out a bunch of counties and then I had a bunch of leads coming in all of a sudden, which was fine because I was able to work them and make money. But I think getting agents to start with these is a really good way to step in, right, Drew? Because you can cap out how many and you know exactly how many leads you're going to get and you can budget for it better than you can with other lead types where you lock out counties and you get all the leads that come in. I think that they're very similar to the other mortgage protection mailers. I think, and the only difference between them and an internet lead is just that they filled out in the mail and you're going to meet with people who filled something out saying that they specifically wanted burial insurance. So it's not a life insurance lead. They just want specifically burial insurance.
So what I noticed is they're easier to book than internet leads, but harder to sell for me in my career.
Right.
Because internet leads, they knew exactly why they were coming. These ones are easy to book because they filled out a form about burial insurance, but it wasn't very detailed. Right. So I always enjoyed booking the appointments fast. I also ran into, and I just want to be as transparent as possible on here. I ran into lower income on those leads. Is that something you've experienced? Has your team experienced? And what do they do to maneuver or work in that situation?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. So yeah, that'll definitely happen. I think as long as you're being like same as with certain lead types, like you want to make sure that they're in areas where you're going to have a higher. So like with mortgage leads, doesn't matter because everyone that is filling them out is a homeowner, right? With final expense leads, for me, what I would always do is, and you can get with the leads department, they'll help you with this. I would check off the ones that lived in multifamily housing because I didn't want those ones. Not because I didn't want to help the people, but because it was really difficult to get people to buzz me in and out of apartments and stuff like that. And it's very easy to do that, right? And then I would always look for leads in a little bit in counties that had a little bit higher average income to make sure I wasn't, only seeing people on, Social Security, housing, and all that sort of stuff. And you can get with the leads department, and they can help make recommendations for where you should or shouldn't get those leads. And they'll also make sure that you don't lock out like 600 leads a month or anything like that.
Yeah, you don't want to go too much.
Right. You don't want to get too many of them. And that's why I think like if you set it up and you're new and you're looking, you're like, I want to start this, it'll give you a good place to start, understand how to work them, see if you like them or not. And then you can always add more leads on and then transition
now,
into mortgage leads.
These things can take a little while to turn on.
Correct.
But then the flow can be pretty good.
Yeah, it'll be it's a good thing to mix into your lead flow for sure. And I think it's a good first thing to use as a mailer.
Yeah. But you want to be careful because you don't want to go, I want peak, and then when they're coming in and you have other things coming in, they're like, whoa, I don't want them.
Right. Yeah, you definitely want to step into them slowly, right?
Yeah.
A couple of tips I have, because I ran a lot of these, especially when I lived in the South. I think the appointments, if you let them get out of hand, they will. And you let people take control, they'll take control. And you have to understand the demographic you're meeting with is people typically that are 50 to 80 years old that are looking for final expense insurance. So if you're sitting with someone who's 70 and they need final expense insurance, Drew, what that always told me was this person is a procrastinator, right? So I think you have to make sure you have very structured appointments and are very direct and to the point. Because if not, you'll meet with a lot of people who are retired and they're cool with sitting there talking to you for 45 minutes about nothing, right? About their grandkids, friends, goldfish. You're like, how did we get here? So I think you have to go in there and just be very assumptive and assertive right away. So I'd always sit down with them and, again, keep it simple. I'd go, Andrew, you filled this out. I assume you're looking for some life insurance for burial, right? Yep. Okay, cool. Who's the beneficiary? And just jump right in, right to the point. That way, if they say something crazy, like I was hoping this was going to be free, this, that, or the third, then you can get it out of the way right away and either, sit and sell the appointment or be out of it. But those ones should be 30 to 45 minutes, right?
Yeah, they are super fast. Over the phone, one thing I always did, because the only time I couldn't help someone is if they didn't have a bank account.
Correct.
That was the only time. Like I have no bank account at all.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever put that in your phone script?
Yeah, I'd always ask people, I'd be going through the phone script. All right, just to check for a few other things for eligibility. Do you have a bank or a credit union you work through? And they'll tell you right away, or they'll tell you Social Security card or whatever.
And if they have a Social Security card, you can help them.
You can help them.
But if they don't have any type of thing, then is it worth going?
No.
Don't even go.
No. I mean, if you're a brand new agent, you need to go. Maybe you can help them set a bank account up. If you have no other appointments at that time, fine. But if your schedule is full, it's going to be a waste of your time.
Unless someone in the household has a bank account.
Right.
So you can go, does anyone in the household have a bank account?
And with those ones, I would always call them and be very specific, like getting back to you about the request that you filled out and sent in for the state-regulated life insurance programs, pay a death benefit if you die. And then I'd go through their information. But I'd want them to know right away I was talking about life insurance and it's going to pay a death benefit if you die so that they weren't remotely confused about what I was calling about.
Yeah, that's good.
So they never thought it was Medicare. They never thought it was a government-assisted thing because I said it on the phone what it was going to be.
Yeah. So now let's get to the aged leads, which FFL just put age leads that no FFL agents ever had in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And then those can be anywhere from 1 to 7 years old or something?
Yep.
Okay.
You used to always work the aged ones.
Yeah. So I'm going to share some info about marketing. Okay. So when you're marketing, there's two different types of people when you're doing direct mail marketing, Zach. One is called a responder, and one is called a non-responder. What do you think the differences are?
The responders always fill stuff out.
So some data companies sell what's called responder data. So instead of mailing to the people that don't ever respond to anything, what if you narrowed down your advertising to people that actually respond to stuff? They're labeled as a responder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then your response rate can go up. So since we know that the people that are filling out forms in general are responders, we know that they respond to stuff often. And we've known that because sometimes we'll get the same lead every year. The same person will fill out a lead because they'll get another one advertised to them,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
We also know that we've had people fill out an internet lead, a direct mail final expense lead, a mortgage protection lead, and a Facebook lead, the exact same person.
Yep, because they're looking for insurance, clearly.
And they fill out advertisements.
Right.
Okay. So the way I worked any mortgage protection or any aged or mortgage protection lead or final expense lead is I would call them assuming they filled another one out. So I'd go, Zach, you recently filled out a form. I'm calling you about the form you filled out in the mail. I don't address that it was a long time ago. And I usually am able to book that appointment just like it was brand new. Now, if I did that a long time ago, then I'm going to do what Henry Payne said, which was, my job is to get you the information. You can throw it away, but I could take you off our list and I still go see them.
Now, I've heard people say they set of them just because they get very good on the phone and they just figure it out, right? I think that's part of it. You got to get enough leads. I say if you're getting these ones, I would say get and dial them and figure out what works for you. You have 200 leads, and you're totally good to go, right? So I think try some of the stuff that we recommended for PhoneScript, but get on there and try and see what works for you too. And as long as you're confident and assertive, people are gonna let you come over.
So everything works a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any perfect scenario for leads?
Never, besides running them all.
Now, what is perfect is just making a plan and executing.
Right.
Whatever that plan is for you, whatever is convenient for you at that time, whatever the situation is, making a plan and executing.
Right. And then, so you're asking about the 1, 2, and 3 month final expense leads.
Yeah.
So those ones are, similar to what we talked about with the mortgage ones, right? But the thing I think is interesting about these ones is a lot of people won't have taken care of it with the 1 month ones. We have a lot of agents that write a lot of business off of them. And it's because you're calling specifically seniors that are 50 to 75 years old, right? So seniors typically are less likely to answer the phone because they're getting all kinds of calls. And especially the other agents that are calling them may call them one time, right? Like say Andrew works for a different company without our training. He might call them one time on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 9 a.m. Where we know you're calling them 3 to 4 times back to back. So by the time we get the leads, we have a really good chance of setting an appointment with these people because what we do and how aggressive we are on the phones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of everyone I talk to say most of the people they sit down with that are the 1, 2, and 3 month leads have never even been sat down with before.
And people have never even called them.
Never called them. They maybe door knocked them one time, or they called them once.
People will get a brand new lead,
mm-hmm.
and the person will think they're a telemarketer and hang up on them, and they'll never call them back.
They never door knock them anything. I remember one thing, this made me think of that. I used to, sometimes when you get leads in and the person just writes all their info on there and doesn't fill out the phone number, I used to love those ones because I'm like, no one else is going to door knock this one. I'm going to. No one else is going to get hold of that guy. I'm going to go get a hold of him.
Or if no one answers if they never answer their phone, they haven't been helped.
Right, because they don't answer their phone. So go door knock them.
Dude, I've been uncomfortable door knocking. Like, I remember one time specifically, I could see the family having dinner in the window, like their front window.
Yep.
Is like a storybook or something, right?
Right.
And I'm like, dude, I'm going to go knock on their door and ask them about insurance. But it's the uncomfortable ones that made the biggest impact,
mm-hmm.
and also the biggest premium. And I don't know why the universe works that way.
It's because you're willing to do stuff that no one else is willing to do, right?
Yeah.
And that's how capitalism works. If you do stuff that no one else is willing to do, then you get paid more for it.
But it's
right?
hard to get to the point where you don't care if you're judged.
Yeah.
Was that hard for you?
Dude, it was hard for me until I had my first death claim. Then it became pretty easy. Actually, no, not even my first death claim. I had a client that I remember, it was in Ohio. I used to do travel trips out there. This guy would never answer the phone. I door knocked him, sat with him, and I was a little nervous that he was like judging me for door knocking him. Sat with him. He told me he wanted to think about it. He was like 60 years old, totally healthy. Didn't get him coverage. And then his daughter called me like a month later and he died. Massive heart attack, right? So she asked, I have this card. Did you get insurance? And I told her no. He told me he wanted to think about it. And she was like, oh, well, he was kind of stubborn. So thanks for trying. But I felt terrible about it. So after that point forward, I didn't want to feel like I failed someone again. So I either made people give me a yes or no. And it made it really easy to not get judged anymore.
Yeah. Huge. Well, anybody watching, we hope this helps. The goal is to get agents to understand that there's no perfect world. Hard work, caring about people, making a plan and executing, do you believe the more you care and the better job you do, the less you'll get less chargebacks?
Because the more you show your clients that you care about them, they're not going to want to meet with anyone else because they know you put the time in, and they know that you're going to be the one there to make sure the death claim gets paid out and all that stuff. So they're not going to ever want to work with anyone else.
Yeah.
And especially if you do a good job and you care about people, you ask them if it's going to help your daughter who lives in Michigan, you live in Las Vegas, pay for your funeral, and make sure that she doesn't have to go into her own account, which would take away from her kids. Like, it's tied to all this stuff that you found out by actually caring about the family. So it's peace of mind to make sure your daughter's not going to be in a bad financial spot because of a decision you didn't make. So I think the good agents care so much that they tie it to something deeper and they don't get as many chargebacks.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in. We have, let's see when we're back. New Year's Eve, we will be back, and we're going over Facebook and YouTube leads. Awesome. And we talked about working through the holidays because we want to set the example for the person who is not where they want to be. They have anxiety, fear of taking care of their family or not being able to financially. Who knows why they ended up working with us. But we want to set the example and remind people that you don't have to, but you can get ahead when most people are, doing what everyone else does. You do have an opportunity to get ahead.